Hi, people have asked us how we make these wooden arbors, so I'm going to show you how we put them together. Pay no attention to my mouth moving on the screen. It was too windy that day for it to pick up the sound, so listen to me from inside the nice warm house. I start off with two black iron pipes. We get 10-foot sections of iron pipe. There, I'm touching one right there. We pound them into the ground so there's about 4 feet in the ground and 6 feet sticking up. So we have a 6-foot pole on either side of the arbor. That's going to be the stability for the arbor, and everything that I'm going to put on there comes free from the trees. And that in our yard, and sometimes we see them in others' yard, we pick up branches. When they're fresh, they're flexible and we can bend them, and what we're going to do is strap them first to the iron pipe and then to each other to build up a framework of wood that goes up the pipe and across the top. You need nice long pieces. There's some arborvitae and some spruce that were fresh when I took them down that I could bring all the way up the side and then bend them over the top and attach them to the other side. Right now I'm putting in a piece of yellow wood. It's quite stiff, but its main purpose now is we're hiding the pipe. So I've found a place that I can thread it through, where I've put some side branches together to make it look like the arbor is woven. I'm going to thread that through up there. And you'll see me put my foot underneath this piece of wood as I get ready to attach it. Well, first we'll attach it. We attach it with zip ties or cable ties. Zip strips, they're also called. That's the most expensive part of the arbor, really. The pipe might cost you $25 for the 2 pipes, but your cable ties might cost you $15. At any rate, I'm going to put the wood in place and then strap around the metal and the wood to hold it in place with a zip strip. They're just temporary. You'll see me put my foot there underneath the wood, and that's because I want all the wood up off the ground. We don't have any of the wood going into the ground, and preferably not touching the ground at all, because we don't want it to get wet. If it gets wet, it will rot, and then the arbor won't last. This way the arbor lasts quite a long time. So I've put the cable tie around, pull it tight. I'm going to get another one. There's that. I'm using a white cable tie. Black ones show up less well, but it doesn't matter because you're going to take them out eventually. And strap the bottom. And that'll about do it for the big branches on this one, I think. I'm going to start putting in smaller branches. So I'll show you what I do to these branches. We bring them in. Sometimes they still have foliage on them, like this one. It's a piece of Alaska false cypress that I took out. It's a year old and has been sitting waiting to go into an arbor for a while. But like most arborvitae and false cypress, it's quite flexible still. So I'm going to be able to use that one way up on the top and bend it over to the far side. So I'll probably weave that one in. But first I'm going to take all the foliage off of it, because dropping leaves is a living process. Once the branch is cut, it's not going to drop them naturally, and I don't want all that cluttering up the arbor. So I'm clipping off all of the foliage and also taking off little tiny twigs. I leave most of the other twigs on until I get it up there because they're quite flexible. I can bend them around, do things with them, and it can look pretty when they're bent around each other like the whole arbor is woven together. I don't know which ones I'm going to need, but I leave on the ones that are about as big around as a pencil and that are flexible, take everything else off. Now I've got it all cleaned off. It's a pretty little branch now, and I can put it up at the top of the arbor as soon as I get my ladder out. Let's go to the next step now. Here we've got an arbor that's almost finished. It's taken a few years to get enough wood to make this big one. I'm going to take the ties off that you can see are holding it together and replace this with copper. We like to use single strand copper wire, 12 or 14 gauge. It's strong enough to hold, it turns blue-green, it doesn't rust, and it looks pretty. But someone gave us some multi-strand stuff here, and we're not one to turn something down, so that's what we're going to use today. I figure out how much it takes to replace this zip strip, how much it's going to take to go around. And then because I'm not doing this just for strength but also for looks, I like several wraps, kind of a jewelry effect. So now I've got the copper wrapped around. I've got it pulled as tight as I can pull it. Not as tight as I used to be able to pull it. I'm wrapping them around each other, pigtailing them, making sure they both spin around so they don't slip out. And when I get all done with that, I'm going to take the ends of the copper wire and make sure that they get turned back inward so that none of those sharp ends poke somebody's fingers at some time in the future. And there, now I'm ready. Once that's in there, I'm ready to take the zip strip off and move to the next place. I'll take off some of these tie wraps now so you can see there's not just this one that was going around the whole thing. That was the last branch I put on. There are a number of them because they've been put on in layers. I started out with a very long piece of a couple long pieces of a young elm and put it up, and then tied it to the pole, to the pipe. Then I tied others to it and others to that. And I might do the same thing with the copper as I go along. Some of the copper will go all the way around the outside. Some of the copper might go just through. Some of them are a little tight to get out because I've been piling so many branches on that they can sometimes trap them. But most of the time you can just clip them and pull out the zip strips. Now your plastic is gone out of the landscape and you're left with just kind of a multiple bracelet effect from the copper. There we go. I've got everything taken off, all the zip ties taken off of this as far up as I can reach here. I'll get the ladder out and keep on moving around, and then the arbor will be done. Hope that helps you.